Alrighty, it is Wednesday, September 3rd. I'm here with my friend Chase. Okay. First and foremost, there's a lot of stuff that happened this weekend. Apparently Trump died, came back to life. Then apparently he's like super sick. Um, do you think that he's hiding a sickness? And how serious do you think it is, if so?
How the tides do turn, don't they? Isn't it funny that we're talking about age and
Yes.
health of the president?
Hmm.
Um, I don't know why people just like to yell things on the internet because I over the weekend I saw just a bunch of tweets of saying he's dead. Did it happen? Is it real? Is he dead? And I'm like, there's literally there is no no news sources posted this. Nobody said anything that I would like. There's some accounts where I'm like, okay, they usually have a somebody that in the know and things like that, and they can, quote them or whatever. I didn't see any of that. No, I think people are overreacting, and I think just because he's old doesn't mean they're hiding something. And like, do I think his health is great? No, I mean his bruising. I don't know. It kind of looks like he might have had some, bruising where you had an IV or something drip. Like it does kind of look like that. But who knows? Like the whole country thinks that Joe Biden has dementia and wasn't around for 4 years of the presidency. I don't really believe that either. Like I don't think what we're seeing is necessarily anything different than just an old man struggling with both Biden's presidency and Trump's presidency. The plate for the president to figure out is filled to the brim. Like it's almost impossible for any leader to really be able to, effectively, I think, navigate through what's going throughout this, especially at their age. I mean, everybody acts like Trump was such a young one, and it's like, no, they're both old and both like probably have questionable health.
He is
So,
going to be the oldest president once he finishes his term. If he finishes his
yeah,
term, he will be the oldest president to ever serve out a term.
yeah. But I mean, I think that, it makes a lot of sense. But I think they're not going to be able to. I think they can almost think that they're immune from the playbook, that they don't have to talk about it. Like they don't have to have conversations around, the health and of the president. Like, I do think that the rumors this weekend were, the death was just overreacting and just kind of, a little strange. But I do think that his health is going to be a question, especially as we keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, Biden from the first year to the last year was much different in the conversations and his ability to communicate. I think we're going to perhaps see something even worse with Trump because some of the things he talks about makes no sense. He doesn't understand reporters half the time and has to re-ask them, and then when he responds with an answer, everybody claps for it, from the right and the Republicans. They're like, "Oh, this is, yada yada." But he never really responds usually to that actual question. He usually says something like different or something that like misunderstands something. And then I think personally, says the quiet part out loud a lot of times. Um,
Which is what?
I I personally would not, if I was president, I wouldn't sit there and say that people want me to be a dictator. I wouldn't say it twice in a row. I wouldn't even joke about it because it just feels a little weird, doesn't it? Just throwing that out there because, like, it's one thing to say that maybe he's responding to the rhetoric, right? I think it's a different thing when he does this with multiple different things. Like, that's not the only thing he'll say, kind of like where you shouldn't say it. Um, I think him having a conversation about how he wants to invite Vladimir Putin to the FIFA World Cup. It's crazy
Yeah.
when they're still bombing Ukraine and you were trying to negotiate a settlement, right? Like these things that he says, it's almost like, are you one? I don't know whether he's just dumb or whether he just thinks it's funny and just doesn't care. So I think it's that balance of that. But I also think that it could just be age. He could just not perceive things, and he's not as sharp as he was in his understanding of media environment, his understanding of how things are going to go down. I don't know.
I think what's frustrating to me about Trump is that he's always been held to a certain standard that
Yeah.
has never been projected on someone like Biden. Because when Biden's health declined, and we obviously saw that, he wasn't as sharp as he used to be, like nobody's denying any of that. Now, were we saying that he was sharp enough to still be an effective leader? Yes. I still believe that he was sharp enough to at least be an effective leader, or at least managed to carry the administration through hard times. But when it comes to Donald Trump, Trump himself has always been held to a different standard where he doesn't have to make coherent sentences, where he doesn't have to stay on topic. And that has always been something that has benefited him and been to the detriment of the Democrats because whenever he does respond to things or he doesn't make coherent sentences, nobody's holding him to account because they're just like, he's surrounding himself with the right people, or he goes off on these crazy tangents that have nothing to do with whatever he was talking about at the point at the time. And so it's just very frustrating to see because for a fact he is his health is probably declining, but nobody really is going to talk about like where his mental state is at because he's always been so erratic and so incoherent with his sentences that he doesn't have to take accountability for anything that he says. And it's very it's very frustrating to see because I was reading something earlier today where Jack Daniels production within or sales within Canada have dropped over 63%. And they said that it was due in large part because of Donald Trump trying to threaten their sovereignty and then the tariff attacks on Canada. And so Canada has become very anti-USA uh, goods. And so it was just funny seeing like Jack Daniels talk about what exactly has been impacting them and how Donald Trump has impacted their sales within Canada and like how Canadians are literally like pushing back against because like we saw it in the election, right? The Liberal Party was projected. Was it the Liberal Party? Am I correct in saying that the Liberal Party was projected to lose or something originally, and then it was so bad that Trudeau ended up having to step down, and now Carney's up there, and he ended up coming from the same exact party as Trudeau, and now they regained power, and that they said that had in large part to do with Donald Trump, and so it's just interesting to see like the real world impacts that Donald Trump is having on some of these countries, some of these companies, and like what exactly is happening to them and how they're starting to feel the effects of Trumpism.
Mhm. Yeah, might make you look for new friends or deepen your ties in other places, perhaps. So we
Yeah,
saw this, I guess, middle finger summit to Trump a little bit with Putin, Xi, Modi, and Kim Jong-un also stopped by the.
yeah, it was.
I don't even know what to make of him. He just comes around and like he brought I think his daughter or something who is possibly going to be his successor, which is just that tells you everything you need to know about North Korea. But
Right.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's interesting to see how in real time a lot of the success and the reworking of these alliances and basically I guess bringing Russia to our side and deepening ties with India with Modi. Um, it's backfiring a little bit, but you can't expect to tariff people's economies into, in whatever you put, there's diplomatic measures that you could use towards India
Right.
that would be far more effective than just here, I'm gonna tariff you and tariff everybody. Like
Right.
you're pushing people towards this alliance in some ways.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, he even kind of sees it as that, he's I think it was today he tweeted out, I hope you have a blessed day. Like he basically said something about how we helped save a bunch of Chinese citizens in World War II and like kind of helped them push back with Japan, I guess.
I didn't see
And
that.
then he said, I hope you have a great time conspiring against America. Um, but I think why wouldn't they? You know, I mean, Modi isn't going to be bullied around. India isn't going to be bullied around. Now, do I think everything that they say, or do I think them in this having this meeting means that they're just completely over the American alliance? No, they're
I
not just going to sit there and just be all great, great. They're more of playing their cards,
yeah,
trying to see what they can get from both sides in some ways, which is a fairly smart thing to do. And there's a lot of countries who are almost forming this like non-aligned block again, where they kind of have relationships with both sides. You see this with Brazil, I think, in a lot of ways. You see this with India. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we'll see what comes of it. But I mean, I don't think he's gonna like it. He's gonna react harshly to it.
I agree. I'm kind of interested to see because, even this past weekend or not, was it this weekend or earlier where he had said that India offered to lower their tariffs to 0%, but he said like it's far too late for that. Like I think that right now they're both trying to posture and they're seeing like I think it's a big game of chicken to see who backs down first. But you're right. I think at the same time I think that's like a dual situation where not only are they trying to play chicken here, but they're also seeing like what all they can get before like there's a line crossed. Now, with China, India, Russia all working in tandem, is that great for the United States? Absolutely not. I thought it was very fascinating that they decided to hold the summit in China, and then there was a whole military parade, which was, I mean, it seemed to me like a show of force to say like, hey, we have a strong military too. And then he even like said, I forget what exactly Chi said, but he said something along the lines of like, we will be a more stable partner than the United States when it comes to trade. And so like, they're obviously taking direct shots at Donald Trump. Um, Now where that leads, who knows? I think the next couple of weeks will be interesting. Go ahead.
I think in this analysis of we're not trying to play that game anymore. We're trying to force you. We're going to punish you with tariffs. If you do not bend to Donald Trump's will and do what he wants you to do and say what you want him to say, he might tariff you.
Yeah.
It's almost, America, like literally America first, where we're going to demand it of you. We're going to force you into these situations unless what you're doing benefits us. And then we're just going to let you do whatever, go free. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think that there's still tools that both sides can use. And, there's mistrust with all four of these allies, I guess. We can consider North Korea, I guess, just a little side one in
I
there.
didn't even bother to
Yeah,
mention him
I
because
mean,
they,
he's there. He makes some noise, but
yeah,
like,
he's not even worth the conversation.
clearly on the Korean Peninsula and things like that, it's a much different story. But I think in the long run, nobody likes them enough to like support. And it's like Russia and China will help them, sometimes. But it's like, okay, I need you to go annoy America real quick or something. But um,
Yeah,
I do.
didn't if I'm not mistaken, didn't Ukraine Zelensky say that they had caught North Korean
Yeah,
military like
yeah.
I
They
guess
sent troops.
part of the military troops. Thank you. Sorry, I was blanking on the word. Yeah, didn't he say that they found
Yeah,
troops?
they definitely sent troops there, but like that's because they needed some supplies, so they might as well go send some North Korean soldiers and whatever happens, and then they can get whatever supplies they needed, military equipment or whatever. It was just a deal, I'm sure. I don't think it was, um, I think it was more of desperation than anything than, an actual alliance. But yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting to see where all these different dynamics go. But I also think that the rhetoric probably won't be as aggressive between India and the US after it. Like right now, he might say some stuff, there might be a conversation, and then a couple months they'll go back to kind of trying to. talk to each other in a better manner. Now, I could be wrong. He could just be, increasing and, part of his argument for the tariffs is that they're buying Russian oil. Okay, but you didn't sanction Russia?
Right.
Like, it's just kind of ridiculous in that you're punishing India, who you're trying to be an ally with, more than the person who is actually selling the oil.
Right.
You're sitting there capitulating to Putin, and then you're mad that India is too?
Yeah.
Like, why do you don't have any right to judge that
Yeah.
when you were trying to play almost the same playbook.
Yeah, I think the whole situation there is very fascinating because like I said, I think it's in part like a big game of chicken to see like what exactly the United States can all get, and then also what India can all get from this situation. We'll see what plays out. I think the issue with Donald Trump is he's so erratic that like you never know what exactly is going to happen. You're right. In a couple months, he could either be buddy buddy like he did with Zelensky after he screamed at him in the middle of the Oval Office, or and then all of a sudden became best friends with him a couple months later after a conversation with Putin, or with Putin, or he could try to go to war. Who knows?